September 12th, 1997, 11:47 p.m., Los Angeles, California. 30 minutes. That is the exact duration it took for $18.9 million to vanish from existence. 6 men stood inside the Dunbar Armored facility. They wore masks. They wore dark clothing. They moved with absolute, calculated precision. They navigated the corridors seamlessly. They bypassed every security sensor. They walked directly through the camera blind spots. This was not a coincidence. This was an engineered sequence. The men knew the exact layout of the infrastructure. They knew the patrol routes. They knew the schedule. They possessed alternative keys to the exterior doors. They held this information because this was not an external breach. One of these 6 men was a former employee of Dunbar Armored. He held the keys. He knew the secrets. This is the anatomy of a perfect plan. Why target an armoured car facility? Why not a standard bank? To understand the operation, you must understand the system. A traditional bank holds limited currency. Banks utilise time-locked vaults. Banks employ die packs. Banks rely on immediate police response systems. An armoured car depot operates under different logistics. It functions as a central hub. It collects physical currency from multiple businesses across the city. On Friday nights, the volume of currency peaks. The money arrives in bulk. More importantly, the vaults remain open during these shifts. Workers need continuous access to process the sheer volume of paper. This currency is unrecorded. It is not sequential. It is entirely untraceable. Alan Pace understood this mechanism perfectly. Pace was the architect of the operation. Before this night, Pace held a specific title, Regional Safety Inspector for Dunbar Armored. His job was to find vulnerabilities in the facility. He evaluated the cameras, he tested the locks, he analysed the guard routines. Pace mapped the entire security grid. He did his job flawlessly. Then, he used his findings to build a blueprint for extraction. A blueprint requires personnel. Pace needed a team. Professional operators carry risks. They talk, they negotiate, they turn against each other. Pace chose a different metric for his crew: absolute loyalty. He recruited 5 men. They were not career criminals. They were his childhood friends. They shared history. They shared trust. Pace wagered that personal loyalty would hold stronger than professional discipline. The night of September 12th arrived. The crew needed an alibi. They attended a social gathering together. They established their presence. Then, they quietly departed. They changed their attire. They drove to the Dunbar facility. Pace utilised his alternative keys. The locks turned. The doors opened. The crew entered the building. Pace established a strict protocol: zero aggression. There would be no weapons discharged. There would be no permanent physical harm. Noise creates attention. Attention brings law enforcement. The crew approached the on-duty security guards. They subdued them quickly. They utilized physical restraints. They wrapped the guards' hands and eyes with heavy-duty duct tape. The guards remained unharmed, but they were entirely neutralized. They could not move. They could not see the intruders. The path to the vault was clear. The doors stood wide open, exactly as Pace predicted. The crew moved swiftly. They located the designated currency cards. They transferred bags of untraceable cash into their possession. The extraction phase began. The crew knew standard protocols. They knew cameras recorded their movements, even from the blind spots. They located the central security room. They removed the recording devices from the mainframe. They took the evidence with them. They loaded the currency and the recording equipment into a rented U-Haul truck. They closed the doors. They drove away into the Los Angeles night. Total elapsed time, 30 minutes. Total capital acquired, $18.9 million. They executed the breach flawlessly. They left no fingerprints. They left no digital footprint. However, physics intervened. As the U-Haul truck maneuvered in the tight loading area, the rear corner struck a barrier. A plastic taillight lens fractured. It fell onto the concrete. The crew did not notice. They drove back to their original social gathering. They walked back into the party. Their alibi remained completely intact.
Morning arrived.
The guards freed themselves. The authorities responded. The Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Los Angeles Police Department secured the perimeter. They analyzed the scene. The conclusion was immediate. This was an internal operation. The precision was too high. The intruders knew the camera placements. They possessed physical keys. The suspect list narrowed instantly. Alan Pace, the former safety inspector, became the primary target. Investigators brought Pace in for questioning. They applied psychological pressure. They monitored his communication. They scrutinized his financial records. They waited for him to make a mistake. They found absolutely nothing. The crew exhibited extraordinary restraint. For 6 consecutive months, they did not spend a single dollar of the stolen currency. They maintained their standard jobs. They drove their standard vehicles. They displayed zero signs of sudden wealth. They understood the system. They knew sudden expenditures attract audits. Instead of spending, they planned. They pooled resources. They retained high-tier legal counsel on retainer. They established shell companies. They purchased property. They began the slow, methodical process of cleaning the capital through legitimate real estate transactions. 1 year passed, then 2 years. The police found no new evidence. The broken taillight matched a U-Haul truck, but thousands of U-Haul trucks operate in Los Angeles. The lead dissolved. The investigation reached a complete standstill. Time is the ultimate variable. The heist succeeded because of time. The operation failed for the exact same reason. Holding vast amounts of capital without the ability to utilize it creates severe psychological friction. The discipline required to stare at millions of dollars and live an ordinary life is immense. In 1999, that discipline shattered. Eugene Lamar Hill Jr. was a member of the crew. He required housing. He engaged a real estate broker to facilitate a transaction. The system they built for laundering the money was slow. Hill decided to bypass the system. He approached his broker. He handed over a massive stack of physical cash to secure the property. This was a fatal logistical error. Hill did not just hand over cash, he handed over the original currency. The bills still wore the original intact paper seals from the Dunbar Armored facility. The real estate broker recognized the anomaly immediately. Legitimate citizens do not purchase homes with shrink-wrapped bricks of armored transport currency. The broker contacted law enforcement. The LAPD moved swiftly. They apprehended Hill. The authorities placed Hill in an interrogation room. They presented the evidence. The physical money bands linked him directly to the Dunbar breach. The pressure was absolute. The circle of trust broke. Hill provided a full statement. He detailed the planning. He detailed the execution. He provided the names of all 5 remaining members, including Alan Pace. The architecture of the operation collapsed instantly. Law enforcement conducted synchronized raids. They apprehended the entire crew. The defense strategies failed. The evidence provided by Hill dismantled their legal protection. Alan Pace, the architect of the perfect breach, stood trial. The court delivered a sentence of 24 years in federal prison. His plan was structurally flawless. He neutralized the cameras. He bypassed the locks. He secured the perimeter. He controlled the variables. Yet the entire system failed due to the impatience of one individual. The crew successfully acquired the wealth. They successfully extracted it, but they failed to integrate it. The burden of possessing untraceable capital proved to be their ultimate downfall. They had everything, but they could use nothing. The case was closed, the convictions were secured, but the mathematics do not align. Authorities recovered a portion of the currency. They seized properties. They seized assets. However, a massive discrepancy remains. To this day, approximately $12 million has never been recovered. It did not burn. It was not seized. It simply vanished into the global system. The network failed, but the capital remains in the wind. Where do you think the $12 million is hiding?